It's May the 4th, 2011. This is the Manotick grist mill, and these workmen are installing the bulkheads to raise the water level on the Rideau Canal. You can see it's a completely hand-operated process, just like it would have been back when this was built in more than a century ago, 1860s. That's why the Rideau Canal has been named as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because the bulk of the operations are still operated by hand. That is, the dams, the sluiceways, the bridges, and the locks themselves. We're looking at the back channel of the Rideau Canal at Manotick. This was used as the sluiceway or spillway for almost 2 centuries. When the canal was first built, there was a bulkhead here, but not a controlled water system and mill as there is now. The Rideau Canal, as you may know, was built to bypass the St. Lawrence for transport between Montreal and Kingston and Lake Ontario, as the St. Lawrence had a shared international boundary with the United States and Canada. It was then Upper Canada, a colony of Great Britain. It was to be used in case of a third war with the United States, but thank goodness that never happened. Some minor action in the last century with the Fenian raids and the revolution. But other than that, this military transportation route was never really used for military purposes. So these fellows have just put in another log. There's a few more to go. Let me just show you a bit more of the raceway. The mill was built about 1860s. It's now called Watson's Mill, and it's open to the public. It's actually still operating. It has 4 turbines, a novelty for that time period, and at least one of them is operating, and they do produce flour for tourists. Just look through here. See the old bridge that was built at the turn of the century, or the bridge abutment. That's all that's left of it. And this little gazebo that I'm in is actually part of that, the eastern abutment. There's the new bridge. So the back channel is now used as a spillway for the main channel, which is less than half a mile to the east of here. Just focus on these guys a bit more. They're taking a rest. So I said this is the back channel. It's not the navigatable channel. That's just to the east of us. Boats do come down here, and they can be anchored at a public dock, and you can visit Manotick. So the reason that the Rideau Canal was never modernized was it obviously wasn't used for military purposes. So, but it was used as a transportation route. It brought passengers up from Kingston to Ottawa and freight. But then the railroads took care of that business. So it really turned into a barge canal, open in the summer season, and it would be used primarily to haul coal. Most of it to Smith Falls, which was a major hub for the Canadian Pacific. And the rest of it kind of fell into disuse. During the Depression era, it was probably run down even more, and the idea of electrifying it was probably thought of, but dismissed as being too expensive for that time period. So it continued to be hand operated. Then there was the Second World War, so it wasn't really needed for the war effort. So when business started to pick up after the Second World War, the coal business fell apart, of course, but the tourist business started, and then they started to modernize the locks and put in hydraulics and electrics. And then some people said, well, just a minute now, do we really need that? And they fought back and said, no, let's preserve it. So that was the policy to do that. So except for the locks at Smith Falls and maybe one or two other places, it was primarily hand operated. And then just a few years ago, the effort was made to turn it into a World Heritage Site. And surprisingly enough, in all of North America, including all those canals built in the States, this was the only one that almost for its entire length was left the way it was back in the 1830s. So it really does deserve the heritage status that it now has. And you can see these guys operating by hand. It takes time and it takes muscles, and it's not an easy job. Imagine doing this when there's ice and rain and sleet and snow, and you're cranking away and trying to get the logs settled. So if you work it out, there's 7 bays. There's probably 10 logs or more in each bay. 70 logs, maybe some more. On a good day, it would take you, 10-20 minutes for each one. So that's when somebody in the water department calls for a change in height of the river, these guys have to go out and do a lot of hard slugging. Now here comes some reinforcements. Nope, they're just tourists. They're just visitors.